On today's episode of A Soul's Quest podcast, Omar and I are sharing our insights on some of the experiences we've came across over the past year. Stay tuned.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to do this episode because I remember when I was growing up and I was a Boy Scout leader, right? One of the things that we used to do after every event, or every single activity that we did, whether it was going to the movies, whether it was going to a museum, whatever it was that we did, afterwards we used to do a recap. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was like, what were the lessons that you learned? What did you get out of this movie?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there was always like everything that we did had like a lesson or a purpose behind it, right?
So you reflected on.
So So in fact, we used to call it a reflection.
Okay.
And the idea was always that it was important to always look back at what you did and see what you learned, right? So when I was thinking about or outlining episodes, right, I said, you know what, it's important for us to share some of our individual insights, our individual reflections on the last year or so, and the things that we have experienced in our own individual quest, and also our collective quest, you know, because I think that it's always important to step back, and really kind of look at what you have gained.
Excuse me.
Over what happened?
Oh no, maybe you didn't hear that. I burped.
And what you have gained over a certain period of time. It's always good to actually have that reflection. I know we typically do it at the end of the year, but I feel like we need to do it more often, you know, to kind of like really take advantage and squeeze the juice out of our quest and the things that we learn. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think it's important, especially as people who are inviting people on a quest. We have to be able to be open and share our human experiences with people, and I think that's important, is to make sure that people know that we're still human. We still have experiences, and we have a life that we live,
of course,
and that we want to be able to share it.
So
both good and bad.
Exactly. So let's do it like this, right? Like, you know, you'll share one of the things that you've learned, and, you know, you'll talk about it. Maybe I'll ask you some questions.
Sure.
I'll share one, and then we'll go back and forth, you know.
Very informal here.
Very
today.
Informal, right? Okay. And then at the end of it, we'll kind of like just do a little recap as, you know, like maybe a big realization, you know, and as to how we are looking forward towards our quest.
Okay.
How's that?
Sounds good.
Good. So why don't you go first and you share first?
Ladies first, huh?
Well,
okay.
So I'm old school.
So I keep a journal every year. And whether I fill the journal or not, I try to be consistent and write every day, or at least 2 or 3 times or 4 times a week, right? And so at the end of every year, I close that journal and I put it away. And so what I did for this episode to share these things, when you asked me to come together with these things of what I've learned so far, what's happened with me, and some lessons over the last couple of months, I went back and read some of the things that have happened in just in 2023. Yeah. But some of this does kind of fall back into 2022 as well. So it's like a continuation. So I have my journal. Okay. Yeah. And that's where I sort of wrote everything down. And so I think the first thing that is really, really impactful, and it's at the top of my list, is and it's at the top of my list because we just experienced a loss, is that life is short and it's fragile. Yeah. Right. And the reason that, it's like a no-brainer, right? Yeah, duh. Okay. But I don't think that I think what happens is life gets in the way and you sort of lose that perspective of how short and how fragile life is, right? Yeah. But we lost Gatsby, our male cat, and he was only 7 years old. And so it was very, very unexpected. And I think we're still saddened by it. And it happened early January. That was our welcome to 2023, unfortunately. And it was the first death that I've experienced with a pet. And it really hit me hard. I was really crushed by losing him because he was Gatsby, he was Gatsby. And so I had some good experiences come from it. A lot of kindness came from that, with some coworkers and even the veterinarian that took him. They did something very, very generous and sweet for his memory, right? But it just made me realize how important my relationships are and how important it is for me to not take for granted any moments that I have with you, with my mom, and the people that are in my life that want to be in my life, and to appreciate those people and show and give and show up for those people when they have a need, or if it's just for us to be together, and I think that has really hit me hard and has really made me evaluate things in my life, and sort of have a different take on them.
It's interesting because, again, sometimes, we as individuals, we tend to be cynical of things, and we minimize things and the importance of things, right? And, some people might say, well, just a cat. It's like, it's whatever, And an aspect of that, yeah, it's true, because it's not something that is yours, right? It's not something that is you. But I think the bigger lesson that I got from that, because I'm affected by it too, and I'm shocked and surprised and saddened by it, and I ask myself, like, wow, what happened? But the thing is that you just don't know. That's the thing, and it's like, he's been to the vet, healthy as could be, just like that, right?
And that's how fragile life is.
Exactly.
Like, you can get a phone call and it could be something that you would have never expected, and you don't ever want to have to look back and go, oh my God, I should have done this, or I could have done that, or I didn't do this, or you know what I mean? And that's what I don't want to have in my life.
Exactly.
I don't want to have those regrets. I'm big on, I don't want to have regrets.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. So like, little things like, the other day your mom asked me to do a favor for her, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm busy. I just don't have time, and, whatever. But I did it with open arms,
Yeah.
My mom has been wanting to come and visit, and I am making like a weekend for her that's about her, and just spending time with both the moms, and then spending time with you, and going to bed in a way, ending our days in a way that feels like, we connected and that we're close, and that, if this is it for us today, then this is how it's going to end. This is great. This is good. And, just with my kids, and being connected to them and making sure that they know that I'm here for them and whatnot. So I think it really makes you think about that,
No,
and it's amazing how Gatsby's, the essence of Gatsby, was just he was so much a part of our life, you know what I mean? And he was, as much as, we used to make fun of him and fluffy butt, and he was oddly shaped
Prancer.
and this and that, Prancer, whatever. But he was so sweet, and that he brought this out of me in this way, you know what I mean? To shake me out of my apathy, I guess, you know what I mean? So that's my number one.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Makes me sad.
Yeah. But it's like one of those things. It's like, yes, you're sad, but then you're appreciative.
Yeah. Grateful.
For the life lesson, right?
Yeah, definitely.
As as much as we want to like be upset about it, it's like, it's like thankful
I am
for the opportunity.
Very grateful to him for that.
Yeah.
He filled our life with a lot of joy, and for him to bring this out and to sort of wake me up. I think, sometimes things happen for, I mean, I think you've said, I hate that cliche or whatever that saying, but things happen, and sometimes it just, it brings stuff out of you, or it makes it really wakes you up. It does. So, yeah. So what is your number one?
My number one has been, so we started this stuff, right? I think we're going to be going into 2 years now, right? In 23, right? 23, so we started like in 2021, right? And I started officially, and it took a while to kind of like get things going. And I think we're up to episode 62. I think this is episode number 62. And for a while there, I stopped because you know, sometimes you go out there, and it was funny. I was telling someone this week about goals and planning, right? And I like this line from this movie, The King, that it says, "All plans are speculative," right? And I'm good at goal setting and planning, right? Is one of those skills that I do have, but sometimes when plans don't happen right away, you get discouraged, right? And for a period there, I was very discouraged with the Soul Quest and the direction where everything was going. So I stopped doing everything. I stopped doing a lot of things, and I was just kind of like there thinking. And in the midst of that time of thinking, I came across this book from Ryan Holiday, on Disciplined. You know, Ryan, he writes a lot about stoicism and discipline. And I was talking to my friend Fred about discipline, you know, and the idea that it's like, you know, how important it is to have a daily routine, how important it is to have habits and daily rituals that gives you an umbilical to hold on to as you progress throughout your day, as you progress throughout your life.
Yeah,
you know, and that was the beauty. That is kind of like the underlying beauty of some aspects of religion that are very important. It's that they hold you to a constant, right? And I think for a lot of my life, although I was disciplined and got to work, and I did all that stuff. I did everything that you're supposed to do, and all that. I think that there was an aspect of that was not as disciplined because
like accountability. Like, is that what you mean?
A little bit of accountability, but just the personal cognizant effort of doing certain actions every day.
Okay.
Right. That held you on to a consistency. Right. So, for instance, one of the things that I've been working on is just that discipline. Right. Getting up at a certain time in the morning, you know, doing my little morning ritual, which is primarily meditating for like 30 minutes or so. Right. Taking a shower. I always took
because you never took showers before.
No, but it's like not because I didn't, but because like in the morning there's this taking a shower, but with like
an intentional
patience,
shower
with patience and like enjoying that moment, right?
Not just to take a shower I gotta get clean. I gotta get ready. I gotta get going. There's a difference. I know.
Right? Yeah. So it's
like taking a hot bath.
Yes, exactly. And then, but it's kind of like my ritualistic part now. And then the other part is like, this is very silly, but it's something that makes me feel grounded, right? It's sitting down, putting lotion on my feet.
Some people think that's gross, like Sierra.
But I don't care what Sierra says. But to me, like, and again, it's like, it sounds insignificant and it sounds kind of silly, right?
No, I don't think it is.
No, but there's a lot of people that may think, oh, that's nothing. Yeah. But to me, it has helped me ground me to my discipline. And then in addition to that, it's looking at reevaluating what the Soul Quest was, what it is, and what I want it to be, and adjusting along the ways, and then having the daily discipline to post Monday through Friday, you know, to be able to script things, write a blog.
You've been really disciplined about that.
So it's like it's like realizing from that you know, the bag of Gita aspect of detach yourself from the end result.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. The outcome. Yeah.
Detach yourself from the outcome, right? And just being able to do those things consistently. And at first, when I was younger, I always saw discipline as something that was like, right? Like, oh my God, it's not freedom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not freedom, but there is a freedom in a certain order, you know, and having that certain order and it kind of like stabilize, and it has been having a calming effect on me, just from those little things.
Yeah, that really don't take a lot of I don't want to take away from it, but I think in a lot of ways it's almost like it's like a habit now for you. Like, you need to do it.
It's a habit,
and it's like
ritual.
It's something that makes you it dare I say it completes you.
It
right?
does.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, but it's the
because
things,
you literally will get up and be like, no, I gotta meditate. We could be in the middle of like, talking or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go meditate. I'm like, all right, we'll just finish this later. Or not that you're being rude, but I'm just saying like this is what I'm gonna do in the mornings. If I'm talking to you, like I'm gonna go meditate. I'm gonna, you know what I mean, which is important.
And it is, and it's like, and it hasn't been that dramatic of a change, and it's sometimes I feel like things come to you like in a whisper rather than a bang, and that's like it's been a theme, and we'll talk about that later. So that's my first one.
Okay, all right, we're still good with time. Okay,
yeah, we're still good with time.
All right, so my number 2 is, and this is a big one because it kind of blends in with my number 3. But I think that there's beauty in simplicity. And I think that simplicity is about being in the moment and enjoying the moment. So it could be something as simple as when we go out and we have a beer together, we have dinner at whatever restaurant we choose to go to. Or when we go to your mom's house and hang out, when my mom comes over here because she lives further away, and we just hang simple things like a simple dinner, going to, Jake's house and spending time there in the pool, whatever. Just simple things, nothing extravagant, nothing crazy, and no judgment to anybody else. But, our thing isn't going to like Kyle G's and whatever and getting drunk and doing all these extravagant things, right? It's more in simple things, and I find that I get a lot of joy out of that, but it takes a lot of being in the moment and not thinking about the expectations that I'm going to get from the experience, right? So I don't know if that's impactful for me.
I think it's beautiful. I think that,
I don't want to give away my number 3, but it goes a lot into my number 3, but yeah. So
I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I told you the other day, the last few weeks I've been going to work and all that stuff and driving, and we live in Florida, right? And how seldom do you see bald eagles in Florida? How often do you see them in Florida?
I never see them.
And I mean, like every morning I've been driving by it, and I'm like, that's not a bald eagle, is it? I mean, they're pretty high, and it's like, and sometimes you're just driving because you just try, and I'm like, that's not a bald. Those are not bald eagles, and there's 2 of them, 2. Right?
Husband and wife.
Typically they do mate for life.
They do.
They do mate for life, right?
So it could be.
And one morning I just like, I'm pulling over. I'm pulling over. I pulled over, take out my phone, try to them like, a bald eagles. Eagle. Right there. And it's like, wow. But it's like the simple things like that. When you like tune into a different frequency, like you start seeing beautiful things like that.
Well, it's like I had shared many episodes ago about how there's been some days that I leave to go to work, and I'm like, how did I get here? Well, how did I get? I don't remember seeing anything, right? And so you're so fixated on just getting to that next place. Correct. That you're not enjoying the in between. And I'm not saying that it's enjoyable to have to, you're going to work and stuff like that. But that's what I'm saying is like being in that moment is hard to do when you're thinking I'm going to work. I got to give my day to, you know what I mean? And so when you do that, the fact that you're able, we'll be doing a road trip and you're like, deer. And I'm like, I missed the deer. I didn't see it. You know what I mean? And it's not like I wasn't enjoying the moment, but I'm not seeing things for what they are and looking at things, so I don't know. Anyway, cool. That's my number 2. What's your number 2?
So my number 2 is this, right? I've been doing this meditation, right, from Joe Dispenza about how to change your mind, right? And I've been working on this little program since, the beginning of the year. And, one of those things that I talk about is like you have to kind of like look at the emotions from your past and then you got to change those, right? So in the midst of doing all that, right, kind of like realized that I spent a lot of the time focusing on the negative things that have happened in my life, right? Particularly from the moment that when I lived in DR and my mom had to come to the States and left me behind. From that point all the way till, recent things and my quest for identity, my quest for my place, my quest for finance quest, and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was doing this meditation, there's one specific thing that came out, right? And it was my early experiences with my grandmother, right? And one of the biggest regrets in my life was the fact that I didn't go back as visit as often as I should have. Because again, not appreciating things that you're in the States, you want to live your life, but you forget that those type of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was younger, my grandma was like love, acceptance, took care of you. And she used to also always tell me that I was always inquieto, right? Like I was moving around, and I slept in the bed with her. She used to get mad at me because I used to be moving around. Not mad, but it's like I moved a lot, and I still do.
Just so you know, he still does that.
Yeah, I still move a lot. And I used to like rub on her arms. I used to be like right next to her, watching her cook and all that stuff. And I remember her. She used to smoke a pipe, and she used to sit in her rocking chair, just chilling.
Yeah.
It's like just smoking her pipe. And I used to just be sitting on the floor, and that picture came so vivid in my head, right? Because it was bliss, it was peace, it was just beautiful, that you forget that beauty in life, and you let all this other stuff, people, matrices and outcomes and the ideas of what you should be and the striving for things and all that stuff. Like you let that take away of that simplicity, right? And then it's like it just hit me, right? It was so humbling, right? Because here's a woman that would have given anything for me and for any of her grandchildren.
Yeah.
Right? And she just gave love. Yeah. I remember when she used to, she lived in the country, it wasn't that far from where we lived, but it was in the country and we lived more in the city, right? She used to come with her little bag, right? And she used to bring us, sugar cane. She used to bring us mangoes. And she used to bring us all kinds of stuff,
all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. She used to give me, like a quarter to go to the store, know. And those type of things. And she was a pristine woman, poor but humble, but the way she carried herself, like pristine, And to me, you think about all the bullshit in the world, right? And all the pretentiousness of the people that you come across in life, the arrogance and all that stuff. And you buy sometimes into that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then you go back to that part. It makes you feel small because it's like, you fucking asshole, thinking that you're better than. And that woman that just gave you everything was just there. It was like, wow.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm thankful.
So that's my second one.
I'm thankful that I got
realization was my
to experience your grandmother in that way, because I know when we went back, that was the last time I saw her. One time, for our trip. And it was when you say that you saw her smoking the pipe and on the rocking chair. She wasn't in a rocking chair, but she sat against the wall and she was smoking the pipe. No, it was underneath the tree, the mango tree. And I remember going, like jabbing you with my elbow, like, look, she's sitting in the chair smoking the pipe.
100 years old.
And she was like 100 years old. And I'm like, dang, Yeah. That's beautiful.
That was
beautiful.
something that is like, out of all the BS that the world has to offer, it's like there's just that simple,
the simplicity,
vision of love and like,
beautiful.
That's cool.
Beautiful. Okay, you ready for my number 3 then?
I'm ready for your number 3.
Okay, so because it's funny because our stuff is bleeding together.
It's really interesting, right?
It is crazy.
We kind of like went separate just to kind of like see what each other feel, and then we're going into that.
So my number 3 is, and this is a big one, is avoiding comparisons.
Okay.
And I've most recently been going through a lot of ups and downs and stuff with, because I earned my doctorate.
Correct.
So I'm a doctor now. And I'm a doctor now is like difficult because it's like, oh shit.
What are you doing?
You got to have what are you doing with your
How
life?
much money are you making?
Yes. You got to make good money. You're a doctor, and this and that. And while there's this level of, there's a certain elements that I agree with. Yes, I've reached this level. It's a terminal degree. I can't go any further than this unless I get another one. But that expectation and those comparisons set in because you're supposed to be making, $200,000 a year now. You're supposed to be driving a Lexus or a Mercedes or something. And that's just not me. You know what I mean? But I find myself falling into that very muddy pit of feeling less than, when I see other people that are advancing and doing other things and reaching for something that has more substance, Mm-hmm. So I remember a long time ago, I had a boss and he had said to me, what are you going to do when you get your doctorate? And this was like when I first started. Well, what do you want to do with a doctorate? And he said, I told him, I said, I've always seen myself in the position of being a teacher. Like I want to be a teacher, but not in the traditional sense, but more engaging and learn from my students. And because I have a very strong belief that I learn just because I have a doctorate doesn't mean I know everything. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, it is it's a certain level of expertise.
Yes,
a theoretical level of expertise.
There's
the practical aspect of it too.
Right, and yes, I have an advanced amount of knowledge there. But I mean, I was having a discussion today with some people, some colleagues, and something had happened, and I said, "Well, this is similar to theory, and practically speaking, it's this, isn't it?" And they were just like, "Oh, we're talking about self-awareness," and so saying that I want to teach seems so like, oh, that's it. Mm-hmm. You paying this. You going to get a doctorate and that's it? Because I don't strive to be a CEO of some, Fortune 500 company. And I don't want to be, power suited up and this and that and hair, straight and, doing all these things that are just not Jessie.
What you want to do.
That's not my essence. That's not me. And so for me, it's really about avoiding that comparison trap. And that it can be, especially when you're trying to get to that place where you want to achieve that goal of freedom and engaging in something that will bring you happiness and fulfill you in a way, because I've done trainings and stuff for some classes at the college and whatnot, and I enjoy it. I'm very much like, let's talk about this and whatever, and it's fun, So that has been it's been a challenge. It's not tough. It's not a struggle. It's not like, because I'm going to be me at the end of the day. I don't want to be anybody else. I want to be me. You know what I mean? If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you love me. There's no in between. You know what I mean? And I have resting bitch face and I am who I am. And that's not going to change for anybody. This is 50 years in the making. I'm not changing for anybody. But when you know me, you know that I'm a meaningful person and I want to live a meaningful life. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I care about people. And so I got to really be careful with that because I think that's I think that happens to all of us. I mean, some people it really affects them and they really are like, I got to be better than this person. So I'm going to do this to do that, and I'm not about jumping on the back of anybody else to get ahead or, try to, down somebody else to get myself in a position of advancement and whatever. So
it's funny that you just mentioned that, right? Because one of the things that I'm working on right now is, doing some things, and he says, this is what I want, but I want this without violating the rights of others or bringing detriment to others, right? And in any type of form, that's one of the things that you have to be personally. We're conscious about that. And we wanted to continue to be conscious about that because we think that
Well, that was part of our business plan.
It's part of our mission
Yeah,
statement.
yeah, our mission
Part of our
statement.
mission statement to make sure that we do things without violating the rights of other or bringing detriment to anybody. You know, because I think it's important to be able to work from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're number 3.
So my number 3 is this, right? And this is one part that is kind of like hard for me. It's having to ask for help, right? And that's there's a couple of things. So one is actually for guidance, right? Like I have some good mentors in my life, you know, and friends that are really good at guiding me in certain ways. Mike Sancho, Fred Cole. So those are 2 individuals that I really rely on a lot. You know, I appreciate their friendship and their mentorship. And that those things are things because they both look at me almost like a little brother, you know. So and we're always chatting, and they respect my opinion, and I really hold their opinions in really high regard. So those are things that I've had. Obviously, in the past, you have Ken Mullen, Betty Medina. Those were people that are really, you know, helped me shape and molded me at that age. You know, so I'm fortunate to have those people. And then on a other level, you know, you have Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung, you know, Alan Watts, Bob Marley. Like those are models that I enjoy and was joking around. It's like, you know, one of the things that I would like was to be a composite of those 4 people, you know, because I always liked their passion and the way how easily and natural they express themselves, you know, that is not like a scripted, you know, robotic way of talking. It's just so flowy and natural. You know, when you see Bob Marley perform, like it's just like the essence of the universe just flows through this man. And when I see Joseph Campbell talking, it's like it just comes natural. Alan Watts is just quirky. So like I asking for help, and I get a lot of help from that. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks on my drive, so that's another way of gaining help. But I did something that I was hesitant of doing, but I did ask for like a person to help me specifically in a specific way, and I've been wanting to work with this person, and I met this person a while at a training that I put together. That I saw somebody put together that we used her at the college, used her at for one of my trainings for my staff at one point, and I always liked her, and I reached out and I said, hey, you know, I need some guidance and some help, you know, and she's like, I've been waiting for you, you know, which is pretty interesting. So I started working with her, and it's been very helpful to kind of like make sense of things that are kind of like going on in my head, right? And it's been pretty cool. Now, here's the other part that is kind of like I'm very like hesitant to say because it's probably going to throw out some people off or whatever. But I also feel like I need guidance from like the universe. So I've been kind of like trying to connect to that aspect. And whatever the hell that means to people is whatever the hell it means to you, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, I know that I spend a lot of time like trying to understand, you know, that aspect of religions, you know, through Joseph Campbell and the comparative religions, right? But I also felt a disconnect in my life, right? To like the forces of the universe or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? It's like God we talked about the word, and it's just a word, right? But that interconnectedness, that ghee that the East talks about, you know, like I always felt that disconnect because logically I've been just thinking too much about things here, but not here. Again, it's like we talked about in the previous episode. We talked about love and that experience of it, right? That is like it goes beyond logic and stuff. It's that flowing thing, right? And you know, sometimes you get too caught up when you're reading and you're learning and you're studying to get too caught up in your head. But asking for that guidance from like the universe. Again, it's like everybody call it whatever the hell you want to call it individually because it's an experience and a relationship that is individually. And I've been kind of always reluctant to kind of like talk about it, but like I've been asking for that guidance.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that makes sense.
I've been asking for it. I've been kind of like craving it.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, and I don't know what the resolution of it all will be, right? But it's like I just been asking for that, just kind of like that connected, and I know that it comes through beauty. Again, it's logic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know it comes to this.
Yeah.
And it comes
Well,
to that,
and
right?
I
You see
think what
that?
it is
Yeah.
that I'm gonna call you out because this is about doing something without just doing it, without looking for the conclusion,
There you
without
go.
looking for the end
There you
goal.
go.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
So there you go. I'm calling you out on that.
But no,
Yeah.
but it's
true because
It's a
it
good
is
thing, yeah.
because it's like there you have to do things, and we talked about when we go for our walks, we talk about like I just have to do and not worry about the outcome. I got to just do. I just got to do. And I think that's what this is.
Yeah.
You're just doing all of this is, you know what I mean? About doing something without having this definitive outcome that's going to come from your actions.
Yeah. So,
But it's about being in the moment, you know? And so like we're very connected with this stuff that we gained.
And it's interesting because when I brought this up to you about having this
and
idea,
we just did an episode on love a couple of weeks. So it's like nice that we're just... You know,
but when I brought this up to you, it was just about, hey, look, I have this idea, and I think that we should do this right now, just to kind of like do a check-in as to where we are.
Yeah, when you asked me, it took me a second. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go to my journal, through there because that's where I write all my stuff. And so, if I was to close this episode, the one thing that I would say is that we're very much, even though we live individual lives, we're very much intertwined with each other's lives, obviously, and I mean,
we're an omelet.
We're an omelet. Yes. You take those eggs and throw it in there. We're an omelet. And I think that, if I was going to say, okay, this is what I get from all of these experiences, like losing Gatsby and then going through the, trying to appreciate life and be in the moment. And then, the comparisons. One sort of resolve that I saw on this show the other day, and it hit me because I was like, oh, that's like a practical way to sort of like really come to terms with all of these things, these nuances that we experience right in life. And it was like an exercise, and the exercise is basically looking in the mirror and writing down, they suggest you do it as naked as you can be, right? Because that is the very essence of ourselves, right? When we're just naked and by ourselves or whatever.
It's vulnerable.
And it's very vulnerable. And to look at everything on your body, everything. So if you like the way that your eyelashes look, write that down. If you like your eyebrows, write it, your eyes are pretty, the color, the hair, if your hair is curly this way, or you like this, if it's straight and whatever it is. And I would say that I would take that a step further in saying that can be an exercise in when I'm writing in my journal. Like, what are the things about my day and my life that I appreciate? I thought it was nice that Omar checked, my windshield wiper fluid in my truck, and that he filled it up. Or, wow, I got in the truck and there's a full tank of gas. Like, just appreciating life and the moments that we take for granted to make you pause and think about how fragile life is and how important things are in the spectrum of importance for us. You understand what I mean?
No,
because when I got into my car the other day, I was like, a full tank of gas. This is nice. Yeah, I'm happy right now. I don't have to stop at the gas station because I hate going to the gas station. It's those little things that you take for granted. And I don't think I ever said thank you for doing that, because there was one day I did get in the truck and it was empty and I'm like, really? But you understand. Like,
no, I understand.
It's just, that's what I take away from all of these experiences.
Yeah. And this is like what I'm taking away from it. It's that, right? That sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude from the experience with my grandmother.
Yeah.
Because you tend to forget things like that. Gratitude for having Gatsby, gratitude for the fact that we're healthy. Yeah. Gratitude for the fact that we're able to do this and communicate with the intention of maybe touching someone in a positive light, so their life could become better, because that's the ultimate intention, right? And then And then the other thing is that as we move forward in life is to be able to continue to maintain the humbleness of the old lady with her humble clothing in the wheelchair
with the pipa,
smoking her pipe. Just maintain that beauty, maintain that humbleness, maintain that essence, And I think that as now that we hit like our middle ages and we're heading towards the second half of our life, I think that's, if we could live from that point, I think we'll be good.
Agreed. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. We hope you found our discussion helpful and informative. Comment below with your thoughts and remember to stay connected by subscribing and sharing.